Hey, everybody, come on in. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network. Here at Center Ice, I am Nick. Joining me shortly is Britt. Okay, so if you guys are watching this right now, the Ottawa Senators and Avalanche game has just ended a little bit ago with a final score of 5-1 in favor of the Avalanche after what's just an absolute spanking. I don't even know what to describe that game as. It wasn't even a game, it was practice. So we'll get into that as well as the other games that have happened, as well as some news on Gabriel Landeskog, hence the name of this one, as well as the upcoming games that we have for the docket for the next week. Okay, so before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow the MHRG Network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck Podcast go live. You may do so on the various social media platforms of your choosing. And if you want to follow us, we ask that you do so at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Okay, so when Britt gets in, I did say last week that I was going to ask her opinions on the trades, so I'll be sure to do that. Kind of stop in the middle of whatever we were going to talk about, have her opinion, then we'll hop right back into the previous games or whatever we were talking about at the time. But 4 games played, 3 games won. Yeah, 3 games won. And one of them should have been won, ? So with the help of the referee, we drop a game, which was little annoying, so we'll get to that one as well. So first things first, the Colorado Avalanche go into Calgary and beat the Calgary Flames 4-2. 2 goals by Parker Kelly. That was probably the most notable. Lindgren gets his first as an Avalanche, and Nichushkin pots an empty netter as well. The 2 Calgary goals belong to Blake Coleman and Jonathan Huberdeau. The game itself was fine. I mean, Avs were up at some point. So 1-0 by the end of the first frame, 2-0 by the end of the second frame. Calgary gets one back, and then not long after, Parker Kelly gets another one. So the Avs are already up at this point 3-1. The vibe of the game that I was getting was that it was kind of just, no matter what Calgary did, it just wasn't going to be enough. And so 3 goals you thought was going to sustain the Avalanche enough in the game, if I were to put that in a term, which it would have, right? But a 4th goal, obviously, with Nichushkin definitely helps. There was a bit of lag, a bit of kind of lack of oomph toward the end of that 3rd frame, especially when Huberdeau got that power play goal, and it was just kind of back on your heels, right? Caught you by surprise, a lot of panic play, because again, it's a 1-goal game at that point. And these, in modern day hockey nowadays, not even a 2-goal, even 3-goal lead sometimes is safe in the dying minutes of the 3rd frame, right? That's kind of how the game is played nowadays. That no real lead is safe, so especially with the 1-goal type of game, it's reassuring to get that empty netter, and you kind of skate away with this win. You're feeling good, especially after that shootout loss that you had against Minnesota the game before. So you're back in the win column, and everything is great. Next game, sorry, I got something in my eye real fast. Ouch. Next game, this is the actual and official return of Mikko Rantanen and the Dallas Stars, not the Carolina Hurricanes, like we all kind of thought was going to maybe happen. The Dallas Stars. The game itself, I'll talk about that second. Let's talk about Mikko's return first. It was nice. It was met with a mixture of woos and boos, which is kind of expected. It was a very nice goal. Or excuse me. Oh, Britt's here. There we go. Hiya, Britt.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I apologize. I didn't even see you waiting in the lobby.
It's okay. I just broke my whole entire desk 2 minutes before we.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I have my little desk and I accidentally knocked the whole thing sideways and it broke the hinge. So
Oh,
I'm gonna collect myself here and I'll be on camera in just a minute, but at least I'm with
right.
you when that happens. So
No, all right. Okay, so I'll talk about the Dallas game then in just a second. But before that, I think that's good that I didn't get into that. What were your thoughts on trades? I'll ask your opinion on the three we actually got back, Nelson, Coyle, and of course Eric Johnson, and then I would want you to kind of see how they're faring so far.
I am completely content, with everything that we did, honestly. And as much as I hate to admit it, I'm not generally a person who is totally content all the time. So I really couldn't be happier with how everything did. I mean, I'm not sure that there's anything else we could have asked of them. Is there?
Maybe Tyson Berry, but that's really it.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Yep, that is the one. I was pulling for it. I made some very big bets.
Tried to manifest it.
Yeah, and but if it helps, they didn't bring in Crosby. That's pretty much the only other thing that was out there. So next year they're coming. We'll get our guys, right?
Yeah, I think so. At least that's the hope, anyways. So what do you think of Brock Nelson and Coyle, and of course the return of the Condor? What do you think of their play so far?
It's been hard to watch. I felt bad for Nelson up until tonight. Apparently, he showed up tonight. Honestly, has EJ's played a lot more minutes than I thought he would. It was kind of funny when Nathan MacKinnon, they were talking about EJ coming back. And what did Nathan MacKinnon say exactly? Like, I don't know how many minutes he's going to play, but something. It was like kind of a backhanded, on accident comment. But
All them old.
it feels like he's been playing a lot. And I guess I should have checked the minutes, but honestly, I've liked pretty much everyone. I think Lindgren is the one that I was the most uneasy with right off the bat, but even he's kind of coming into it. I mean, I don't think anybody had any big anticipation points wise for him, but he's really, I mean, I like him. I like all of them. I feel like he is pretty much point on Josh Manson replacement if Josh Manson is going to be gone for a while, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you have two of them, then he reminds me a lot of Josh Manson, and having two of them would be wild.
Oh, you bet. And the one thing with Lindgren, he sure knows how to draw a penalty.
Yeah.
Poor guy gets hit with any object that can get jarred loose or is loose, he will get hit with. Like, it's crazy.
No, he is. I guess I didn't realize until I actually went in and did some research on him once he became ours that he's the one that Kadri fought. He was it Donskoy that he pretty dirty hit. I mean, he definitely crosses the line. He's a bully. He's a really big bully.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It feels like I didn't love. They moved Nelson to the wing during the Toronto game the other day. Don't know how I felt about that. Definitely feel like we're paying him too much to play wing, but I guess that's the Bednar Blendar. But I've really been happy with everyone so far.
Yeah, and it was nice, especially tonight in the game. So we'll talk about this game in a second. But Brock Nelson grabbing a couple of goals.
Yeah,
it was awesome, and really the depth of this team feels like about as deep as it's been. And I know we've said that a bunch, and like at the beginning of the season, we're like, oh, we're so deep. But like, I'm honest this time, like the depth, it feels a lot more like it did back when we won the cup a few seasons ago.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit different in that the depth is in the forward core, and we don't have to worry about it because we don't need all the depth to be in our D because we have goaltending, which is also kind of an odd case lately. Not sure who the starter is at this point, but
and
I feel like it's kind of cool that we can rely on forward depth and goaltending depth, and our defense is still good, but not necessarily our, you know what I mean? It's not our whole entire personality.
Yeah, and it is more comforting in that though, because again, you're still getting majority of your production from your top 6, probably top 3, and then obviously your top pairing. But there are now those times where the games where your depth comes from out of nowhere to just basically rack up all the points. Those types of games are happening more often, which is that's going to be necessary down the stretch here as we're winding down the regular season. So I agree with you. Been super content, super happy with all of them so far, and just hope that we can continue to ride a hot hand and hopefully take momentum into the playoffs. So that being said, I just talked about the Calgary game. We're going to talk about now the Dallas game, and that was the return of Mikko Rantanen. Met with a mixture of applause and booing. That was kind of to be expected.
Yeah.
He had himself an assist, almost had a goal.
Pretty underwhelming, though, don't you think?
I mean, but is it though? Because with the Avs, he's had a lot of spurts where he just kind of vanished.
I was going to say, but really on par for Mikko Rantanen. He just doesn't really. He doesn't have that psycho mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like he scores plenty. He's a phenomenal player. But again, if we know anything about Mikko, it's that he throws tantrums and just sometimes is quiet for a long period of time. And you're kind of like, wait, what happened to Mikko? You know?
You'd think that of all times, right now is not the time to be quiet, you know?
Yeah. So the return again, it was hard to see because obviously Mikko makes anything look good. So that Dallas green looked unfortunately good on him. But it was just tough because you're sitting there going like, this all could have been avoided. Hey, how's it going?
No, I'm just on my bed without my desk.
This all could have been avoided though. That's the hard part, and I talked about that last week. But I don't blame, for those of you who watched last week's episode, I don't blame Mikko himself. I blame his camp.
It's exactly where I'm at too, which I didn't get to talk to you beforehand. Phenomenal job last week.
Oh, thank you.
I every single thing was the usual where I pretty much agreed with you. So you don't even really need me because you can just speak for me. He didn't look terribly comfortable because it's really been, and I know that you've probably gone through the same emotions with me, up and down. I hate him. I miss him, blah, blah, blah. But I really do think he was caught off guard. And I think that his agent, which kind of made me mad that Alan Walsh had glowing things to say about Mikko's agent, but I still feel like Mikko's agent is the asshole in all this. I mean, I really don't think Mikko is an overly emotional person, and I genuinely think that he was caught off guard. I don't know if you talked about that interview that he did. Was that right before his return, or would that have been after you did the show?
That would have been before, I think.
It felt pretty genuine. I mean, it felt genuine to me that he was caught off guard, but if he would have just signed the contract that they had laid before him and not pushed their hand after Draisaitl signed.
Yep.
I know he didn't want to move. I know that he says he would have been flexible, but really this all would have been avoided if he would have just signed a very reasonable contract.
That's exactly right. And that's what I even said last week is what's done is done. Like, again, my first choice would have been to re-sign Mikko. That's solidified. However, look at what the Avalanche were able to do. And I talked about this last week. Look what trades they were able to make because of it.
You got to wonder if they were low on patience right from the get-go.
And I think that might have been it.
Because we know how he was with his last contract also. And when Carolina came knocking, you have to imagine that they just didn't even feel like bringing it to the table again.
Yeah. So in return,
to blame them at this point.
Exactly. In return, you get Natchez, who, if he hits his potential, he'll be just like Mikko. and
You get more
cheaper.
power.
You get
And
Brock Nelson out of
Drury,
it. You get Coyle. You get the return of an old friend, right? So a good friend
yeah.
leaves, another one comes back.
I have
So
watched Jay's interview so many times where he says, I'll play
even if I'm
10
an ice
I'll play 6
cleaner, like
minutes. Yeah, I'll clean the ice. Oh God. I don't
uh,
even care if he never touched the ice, and I don't think he did either.
just the fact that he's
He
back,
means a lot.
it means something to
I
this
know.
team. You
And
know,
that's why I'm so
those
shocked to see him on the ice.
oh, it's amazing.
Diving
It's
and laying
amazing.
down. Yeah.
Um, but speaking of on the ice, let's talk about the game itself. So during this Avalanche game against Dallas, it was okay. First, let me point this out. This game needlessly went into overtime. It did not need to go to this.
No.
The Avalanche were doing just fine. Yes, Dallas gets the first goal, but you answer with 3 of them. I don't want to say like that, but you get just boom, 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 3 goals, and you're doing okay. Dallas clearly was not in their element most of the game,
Because we
right?
didn't allow them to be, though. Like, I don't
Yep.
know.
But in the span of 20 seconds,
Yeah.
when in the last 5 minutes of the game, Bork, Duchesne, 2 goals, tie game. Again, it's like if you just mind your P's and Q's,
Freaking
the
Duchesne.
game ends. And this is a team you're chasing in the standings.
Were
You
you
let them
not
get a
completely
point.
ready for a Rantanen goal from Duchesne to win that overtime? I mean, is
See,
that
see, I was like, watch, Rantanen's gonna do it. Because
yeah?
here's the
Oh,
thing: the three constants in life are death, taxes, and Matt Duchesne scoring
yeah,
a goal against you, right?
yeah.
I thought there
I
was going to
just
be a
don't
new
know if we
fourth
could
constant,
emotionally
and it was
handle
going to be
Rantanen.
Nico.
Yeah,
I
I
thought for sure.
thought for sure. And it's kind of a testament to how Miko has always played for us. Also, he, as much as he has had his like where he carried the team without Mac, he has also failed to show up in some of the most important moments that we've desperately needed him. He's
Mhm.
really disappeared, and there he is doing it
Yeah,
for Dallas. You'd
and there
think
and
we have a whole team needing to beat Dallas emotionally, and in turn, Miko Rantanen, and they have one man on their team. Granted, Dallas wants to beat us, but it's different for Miko. Miko needs to beat the Avalanche. It should be possibly the most, sorry, I have the hiccups, the most emotionally driven
you're
game
good.
of his life. Truly, of it, almost as much as the Stanley Cup is the most important time in a player's life, this has got to be close to it. Being traded from your team and making your first entrance back into the team the arena that you've spent your entire career with.
Hmm.
Man, you thought you'd see more out of him. If anything, take some dirty penalties. You know what I mean?
Yep, I totally agree.
And in
So
fact, I think our game-winning goal was off his offsides, wasn't it? The face-off from him being offsides.
it was, yeah, they were offside, but shout out to Cale Makar who did Cale Makar things. The shot itself wasn't really all that pretty. He just happened to
No.
catch Ottinger in a like kind of recluse type of position where it just slides past his right leg and into the net. It wasn't pretty, but hey,
And
goals and
Ottinger had
goal.
been playing phenomenal up until that
Oh,
point.
he'd been playing really good,
We've got bullied a whole lot lately, it sure feels like. That's what we do.
Kinda. I think you're right, but again, you at least get the win, so you get that extra second point. But my point is that you didn't need to
No,
have this game go to overtime.
and
You
let them
had
have that point.
all the reason to just skate away with 2 points. You catch up to them plenty. Great. But you didn't. 20 seconds of a lapse, that's all they needed. And it was annoying. But win's a win, so you move
And
on.
that's looking right there at the first round like a match, most likely.
Yep.
So it's going to be exhausting for us and
And I think you're right. And we'll talk about that here in just a second as well. But next game, the Avalanche now start let me make sure I got this right. 4-game road trip. Wait, am I looking at it? Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 3-game road trip. Okay. My
yeah.
eyes were playing tricks on me for a second. So they play this first game in Toronto, and they lose the game 2-1 in what is arguably the dumbest way possible, in
And
my
most
opinion.
Yeah.
A referee fell down during a long clearing attempt that would have most likely have been an icing.
He
And
didn't.
he
He
blocks
dove
the puck.
into it.
He effectively. I understand it was an accident, but it
Yeah.
looks like 100% he dove into it.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. Kelly
I
Southern
just-
is one of the most tenured NHL refs.
Yeah,
He might even be the single most tenured
he
NHL ref.
probably is.
He literally looked like he swan dove into the puck. And you got to imagine that guy woke up this morning.
I can't believe it. And the hard part about it is he stops the puck, and that's the hard part about these types of games is
luck, man.
He's part of the rink.
People saying
that's
you gotta
how
blow
they
the
are.
whistle, and it's like, where's the line as to when you can't just blow the whistle anytime the puck
Because
it.
Yep, but this one's difficult because when he falls and it hits him and he stops the puck, here comes Lawrence, gathers it and just skates right on in as if nothing's going to happen, shoots and scores. A literal direct result.
And Blackwood seems
that shot.
It wasn't a great shot. I think he was just so caught off guard.
Yeah, it was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And that was ultimately the game-winning goal. I think that goal happened like 3 minutes into the...
Yeah.
Like, it was just a regular old clearing attempt.
As we outshot them at least 2-1, maybe even more than 2-1. It was... I thought... The Leafs are, and I listen to the Steve Dangle podcast religiously. I listen to every LFR. I thought surely they're still going to walk out knowing that, like, because they're on the verge of spiraling. The Leafs are. They're real close to losing their minds. They had a phenomenal start to the season. Then they had possibly the best goalie tandem to start the season. Matthews is not scoring. I don't even know if he's like top 10 in goals right now. Sounds like
who's Austin Matthews?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Don't know her.
Not the guy we knew last season. That's for sure.
And their goaltending fell off a cliff after starting off unbeatable. And I thought last night they should still walk out of there knowing that they're not okay. They gave up a lot for Scott Lawton. Is that his name? Lawton. I keep wanting to call him Lawton.
Sure looks like it.
I don't know if he's done much at all lately. He didn't stand out to me last night. But they were still really excited about the win. And I guess when your goalie plays like that, you can walk out excited. But kick Toronto's ass, short of putting the puck in the net, which matters the most.
We might as well have carried it and threw it in.
Yeah, we just made the goalie god for a night, which is just something.
And that was it. Is 39 shots on goal. So, I mean, it wasn't for lack of trying. It's just these shots at, because my philosophy is, and I'll still stand by it, more shots on net, eventually the dam cracks.
Yeah. Right? Especially when you're struggling to score goals.
Exactly.
Getting a little bit sloppy and choosing.
And that's exactly it, where these shots weren't necessarily quality shots.
And he was doing a good job controlling the rebound for the most part.
And he did a great job. Yeah, he did a phenomenal job collecting rebounds. But there were a couple of great saves that Wolf made.
Far out of our, none of it. We had none of it the other night. And it feels like it's been like that for a couple of games. Because was it the Wild game or the Dallas game that had a puck directly bounce off the ref that led to a goal within the last few games? Also, we've just not been very lucky lately.
No kidding. It's annoying. It's annoying. And I'm sick of it.
And especially when people like to say that you earn your puck luck, but
do you? Not us.
I believe it sometimes, I guess, when it works in our favor and it feels like the world is better.
Sometimes. I think it's against us.
I've not been able to earn favor, earn puck luck, no matter what we've done, because we were so far and beyond the better team last night, and none of it was ours.
Yep. And speaking of puck luck, I don't think all the puck luck in the world could have prevented Ottawa from winning this game that just happened a little bit ago. Avalanche 5-1, and honestly, as soon as they scored their fifth, they're like, "Okay, the uncle," like they felt sorry for them. They could have dropped 10.
And it was a different goalie too. So like Forsberg is way less lovable. I feel like you could drop 7 on him and not really, or no, 6 they would put on him to get to that 10.
Sure.
Yeah, I took you after the third goal in Ullmark, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Oh man, and that's when we were texting each other, going like, "Gosh, I felt bad for him at this point. Like it just sucked. Like they were terrible. Ottawa was. They get the 1 goal to prevent
they
friggin'
weren't shitty goals.
What's that?
They weren't crappy goals. They weren't.
They were all earned. Something like just
that second Nelson goal. Holy Hannah! I thought he like kicked it in the air, but it seriously was so perfectly redirected.
The ricochet, you mean? The redirect? Yeah.
That was beautiful. It was so nice to see him break through.
Yeah. The only bad thing was that the only thing that would have made it a cherry on top this game was if Scott Wedgwood ended up getting it his shutout.
And that
it was like 1 goal in the last
3 minutes.
About 4 minutes left in the game, where it's like, really, you couldn't
just take it back.
No, seriously, at this point, because again,
you don't need that.
All 4 of your goals, well, 4 of the 5, I should say, all in the first period. You get one. Brock Nelson gets his second like a minute and a half in, and then both teams are kind of like, well, we'll just kind of skate it out.
I know,
and like literally both teams literally just kind of
out of here. Yeah,
just stop playing.
Just keep the clock running.
Yeah, that was literally was literally the one game where I sat there and just said, "Can we literally just call the game now?" Like I took tiny little cat naps in between intermissions because I was like, "There's not going to be a lot going to happen the rest of the game."
Yeah,
and like because Ottawa had checked out easily by like halfway through the first period.
Yeah,
right.
Well, and Michael's like, "Why are they still playing the first line? Like, with the injury luck, can we just stop playing them at all? Like, can we just please just?
Why were we even playing our goalie?
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I
go out there with 6 skaters and play keep away for 40 minutes, and you're good.
And then they kept putting us on the power play. I'm like, do you guys not learn?
It was just sad.
Yeah,
I've in all of the games, Britt, that we have covered on this podcast, this I think is the first one where I was like, this game needed to have a mercy rule, and it's just a 5, and it was just 5 goals. It wasn't like 9 or anything.
No, it just was so fast though. At the beginning, and all of them, you're like, Ullmark maybe would have wanted the first Brock Nelson one back and maybe the Makar one, but I don't know. I think he was being screened really bad by his player that was trying to not screen him. And by that last one, you could just tell he's like, oh my God, especially when we just wrecked their fun. They were the top of all NHL chit chat today. Today. They've been kicking butt lately. I don't know why I keep getting the hiccups back. They have been surging, and we just ruined all the fun in one. Yeah. We ruined all of it. And Ullmark has been playing so good.
And go figure. By the way, like in my hockey fantasy that I'm doing this year, I have Ullmark as my goalie, and I'm in the championship.
Oh,
so go figure that happens, right?
Can't blame you for picking him, but
absolute dud. But it is what it is. But anyway, so those are the games that have occurred. Let's kind of get into a couple of talking points here before we get into the upcoming games. The first one being what appears to be the potential return.
Inevitable.
Gabriel Landeskog.
Absolutely it's inevitable, right?
It's happening, Britt. I think it's happening.
Yeah, it's very, very, very intentional what they're now finally letting us see. They're showing us. We're not accidentally getting glimpses of this secret practice. They are showing us, and he's doing a media run they're finally giving us all the good information, all the deets. They're not holding back. They're not unsure of themselves. He's coming. And from what I understand, that if Manson goes on LTIR and we do a little bit of gymnastic with Wood, he could come back before the playoffs.
And wouldn't that be the most amazing return on planet Earth?
You almost have to think they're not going to be able to announce when he's coming back because tickets will
They
skyrocket.
would be so expensive.
Building will burn. I mean, it'll turn into a riot, like the
Yeah.
happiest, most joyous riot. But I just think about what I would give to be in the arena to hear when they announce his name. It's
No
really going to be
kidding.
one of the most incredible experiences an Avs player will ever be able to experience. I think just as much, if not more so, than winning the Stanley Cup.
This almost feels like I'm like just as good, I think,
Oh,
right?
this is going to blow off.
Now, two things with this potential, this return, we'll say it, this return. One is, do you think this was now finally all of a sudden turned on its head from all the secrecy to now all of a sudden this showy offiness
I feel like
because we got depth, because we have the capability of going very, very deep in the playoffs?
it helps a lot that we have the depth that we can very slowly introduce him, even if he had to come back in the Dallas series. We have the depth to shelter him greatly to where it won't kill the team having to send someone down to bring him up and possibly only play him 2 to 3 minutes. You know what I mean? Depending on how it goes. I do think that that's huge. That even if he's just out there taking a couple shifts and they're all right, but he's on the bench and he's in the battle and he's, maybe do a little Stamkos, score a goal and, head back to the locker room.
The rest of the game.
I think that the depth add has been huge in that.
I agree.
Because 3 weeks ago, a month ago, it would have been a problem to use a roster spot on him.
Yeah. And I think that's
Could he
just
come
it.
back and struggle?
So here's the question. Had these trades not have gone down, had Mikko not been traded, or whatever it was that happened, had we just kind of stuck with the depth we did before Mikko got traded, and it just wasn't going to end up working, we were going to make the playoffs, but didn't have the confidence of a deep run, do you think Gabe would have come back at all?
It's hard to say that. I really think that this, seeing that we are all in and that he's a part of it, you have to imagine that that was the motivation that you can't produce or like manufacture in any way other than doing what we did. You know what I mean? Because if last year, obviously we all had faith, but I don't think that we really had faith that we were going to win the cup, especially once Nuke was gone. But I don't think that there's anybody questioning the true possibility of the Avs winning the cup at this point. And I don't think that that felt nearly as confident of a bet until the last month since we have acquired these players. I don't believe that the team we had up until the deadline was, even with the new goalies, was cup worthy or even, second round. I think we would have possibly been bounced in the first or second round. But you have to imagine that this is motivation for him and that he has emotionally, mentally been able to turn it up and invest himself in a way that he wouldn't have had we not. You know what I mean?
Yep. Nope, I totally get it. And I agree. I feel like the timing just happened to work out and the moves just happened to work out where it allowed for this to happen, if that makes sense. It almost feels like a perfect destiny. The perfect storm of events, I guess you could say.
We don't have excess of wingers now. We've got centers.
Exactly.
We can have some lightweight wingers who don't play all the minutes.
Yep. So it's exciting to see. I'm like, if he is ready before the end of the regular season, I want that more than anything. Because again, even because it's all, hindsight where you're like, when, his last game was him lifting a Stanley Cup.
Did you watch the interview of him with Keefe?
I did. Right. And so it's like, had we known, you would have just savored that moment so much more.
Probably would have never left the ice.
3 seasons.
I know.
And so now knowing that he's coming back even if he plays a game or even a shift, I want to be there to watch it because now it's like you don't know when his game is going to be the last.
I know. It was really hard to listen to him like talk about how like he figured he was just gonna have to, rehab through a little bit harder scope. And while it turns out, man, I was talking to Michael about it. We were watching it, and the guy is practically a surgeon at this point, the way he's talking about all his.
No, seriously, though.
You can tell that he's had to take in a lot of information that he probably couldn't have cared less about up until this point. But the fact that he just thought he was going to have, a scope and it was going to be a pain in his butt and he was going to miss half the season, but whatevs, got the cup,
Yeah, no kidding. And what went from a half a season came 3 whole seasons. Like it's nuts. But again, he's a pioneer in this, being no player has done this, has needed to.
Really nice to listen to him talk about like Andy, whoever, he watched a documentary about a player who had a surgery, and they did like they followed him with the cameras, and he said that he watched it like 19 times and that was what kept him going. So he wanted to do this documentary so that he could hopefully be that for someone else. But I think it's awesome that they are documenting it. Just like it would have been interesting to see Eichel, like documentation of his journey through that, which not nearly as I mean, I guess it is just as invasive, but it's not as finicky. I don't think what Jack Eichel had done. I think it was just risky for the immediate time, with the injury as a hockey player. But I mean, Lonzo Ball has he had any issues so far?
Not that I'm aware of. And he's had a couple of nasty collisions.
And that's what you would think, that basketball pivots, they're gnarly. Like when you do something wrong to your knee in a basketball pivot. But I love that he is like going to go down in history as a pioneer for what can hopefully keep a lot of players, even if they have to take, I'm sure that they'll figure out how to, fine tune the recovery for this. But guys that are 19 or 20 having their careers ended over knee surgeries.
Yeah, and they can be revitalized, even if they even if it means taking 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's great.
Pretty cool for him to be a part of that and for the team in general and to have it all documented. I love it. I think the timing is, is he just going to show up the last day that the last episode comes out?
Here's what I'm hoping happens, Britt. They're playing, they're taking warm-ups. Landeskog's not there. It's like, whoa, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, when they're announcing the starting lineup and whatnot,
what is this?
Just the lights turn off, and through this fog, this smoke, some guy in an Avalanche sweater with this captaincy on his chest just emerges from behind the benches. The crowd just goes nuts. They announce his name, and he takes his own little session of warm-ups. I think that would be...
You got to think that the NHL would make some kind of exception in releasing your lines and rosters so that they could pull this off.
I would love that more than anything, but unfortunately, NHL doesn't operate that way. So
I feel like they would. Honest to God, I feel like they would make some. What other comparable, short of like Mario Lemieux going through cancer treatments, what other comparable situation is there where somebody literally wins the cup and then immediately goes on to be forced out of years of a career where they just signed the captain since he was 18 years old?
Question. Not many people. Maybe Michael Jordan coming out of retirement the first time.
Exactly.
But even then, that's retirement, not injury.
Exactly. I just can't think of any other situation as emotionally compelling, especially if you know anything about the Avalanche, because you probably do have to know a little to know how incredibly important Gabriel Landeskog is to the Avs. He's kind of a quiet, not necessarily quiet, because he makes his presence known. But I think he's a little more quiet of a leader than he's not, you know what I mean? He's not boisterous.
Yep, I agree. So should be fun. It's only a matter of time. Like it's days we're ticking down at this point. So
it feels like any minute. And
we'll just have to see what happens.
That's what I told.
And now the anxiety is going to kill me. That's
Well,
what's
that's
going to
what I
happen.
was telling Mac. We got to start recording us watching every game because one day he's just going to pop out of there and we're going to lose it. And I want to see the
Just going to
reactions from
go
every Avs
berserk.
fan. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I will drop whatever I am holding.
Yeah. Babies hockey.
Could be a hockey stick, could be a child. I don't know. Like
Any
I'm
of
going
it
to drop whatever it is.
going down or it's going up.
That's exactly right. Okay, shifting gears now. Looking at the playoff race, it seems as if, Britt, we are on a destined collision course.
Yeah.
To play the Dallas Stars in the first round, which means we see Mikko a maximum of 7 times, minimum of 4, right? It seems inevitable. Is there any way that you can think, besides like just all of a sudden losing and going into a wild card spot, is there any way you can maybe hop them and go to Winnipeg? Get Winnipeg's spot. It feels difficult. That feels like a stretch.
It'd be nice to run over Winnipeg, but also pretty good chance that just something would go catastrophically wrong if we did get Winnipeg. I honestly, it's a travesty though, because one of us is going to come out, either us or Dallas, and going to be beat to crap and just make Winnipeg's journey a little bit easier.
Probably.
When frankly, if you told me that Dallas and Avs, if in some way Dallas and the Colorado Avalanche could be the Stanley Cup final, I don't think that would surprise anyone. I don't think that would upset anyone. It's insane that one of them will be gone after the first round or the second round. When you
and you're exactly right. They're heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
These teams.
Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing. I think in this particular instance, Dallas actually doesn't scare me as much as Winnipeg.
No,
oddly enough, because it was backward the last year, right?
Right.
But
Hellebuyck is, I think he's out for blood. I don't think that he can allow himself to do it again.
I think, because obviously we knew what happened to Hellebuyck last year in the first round. He's playing different.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was the Vezina Trophy and deservedly so. We won the Vezina.
4 Nations. I mean, he played well.
He was different since that 4 Nations game, and aside from a couple of duds, obviously against Utah, he had a pretty bad game, and obviously some here and there. He's been different, and in our case, in the bad way, where he seems to
might
not
win the heart. We're all about he might.
So
I mean, he's definitely got the Vezina.
Yep. So assuming though, kind of now looking at front value of the first round, the ideal scenario is you need that home ice advantage. You need to hop Dallas in the standings. I don't think you're going to catch Winnipeg, so you need to solidify your second place in the Central, because those two first games, I think home ice is going to be pivotal, and that could be what ultimately makes or breaks one of the teams
for sure.
So it's not fun. I wish it was. It'd
be fun if we win.
It'd be fun if you win. Absolutely.
That's really all I can.
But I don't want to have to play Mikko Rantanen. That's the hard part. It's like
Shane.
It's like, have you seen the movie Forever Strong? The rugby one. So one of the coach's sons ends up getting framed for something. He goes and plays for a different rugby team, and they end up meeting each other in the championship or whatever. And it's one of those where you're like, feels like your brother, your best friend, whatever it is just playing for the other team. You don't want him to lose, but you need him to lose. So it's going to have one of those types of feels for me. But at the end of the day, that is what it is. But I think right now the important thing is you need to get past Dallas, leapfrog them, and maintain that second position in the Central Division. If you can
stay healthy and get out of the first round against Dallas, does it not feel like it just gets easier from there?
Against Winnipeg, I'm going to say no, because our historical record this season against Winnipeg has been terrible, in that we have made Hellebuyck look like a god.
I know, but we're a different. When did we play them last?
and I think we still have. Do we have one more game against them? I can't remember if maybe we're done or not. Let's see. April. No, yeah, we're done against them. We last played them. Oh boy, was it January? Yeah, January. We played them twice and we lost both times. Once in overtime at home,
Yeah.
and then the time before that, 3-0 we lost in Winnipeg.
But that wasn't the newest.
That's right. That's right. But it just something else is going to need to happen in that, assuming we can even win the first round.
Hellebuck is different, and I do believe that this year. But all it takes is one mental, you know what I mean? We just have to break them down. And I think if we do play Winnipeg, it's all going to hinge on the first period of the first game. And
And again, no two games are ever the same. So case in point with Georgiev last year, his first game, absolute dud. And then he played, error-free basically.
I know.
The rest of the 4 games, and we go boom, 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 boom.
He's his own classification of goals.
Potentially, but I'm saying like the adverse could happen to
for sure. Yeah.
Right?
True.
So but the first
I just feel like the history were so in his head, and that's either a really good thing. He could go full Bennington or he could go full.
Could be. But first things first, you do have to get through Dallas.
Yeah. And that's seriously, that's not guaranteed even.
And with playoff style Ottinger,
that's just it. Ottinger's not a joke. And he's a playoff boy.
He's just as good as Hellebuck in the playoffs, so.
But God, the way Wedgwood looks lately.
You have 2 great goalies you could just play.
God. I know. I feel like Wedgwood's look just as good as, I know Blackwood's been going through some health stuff, but good God, Wedgwood has looked good. And he makes it look like other teams aren't shooting, but that's because he refuses to give a rebound.
What's funny to me is he makes some of these saves that make him look like Marc-Andre Fleury. Where he's just acrobatics and whatever else, just like, oh.
But then everything in between is just nothing. Like just a sponge, and it's just crazy. It's almost diabolical how calm he is, even on the most like wild stuff. Like that one that was just teetering beside him, and he closes his legs and grabs it. I don't know. He's just a very interesting guy.
He's very calm and collected, so it's pretty great. Okay, that being said, we'll go ahead and move on to our last portion of the episode. We'll go and we'll look at our upcoming games for this week. We only have 2 to talk about.
God forbid we didn't like space our games out. We just like back to back, and then
and then all of a sudden, just this wasteland of days before you.
The tour of.
So we finished the road trip at Montreal. That is on Saturday, 5:00 Mountain Time puck drop.
Currently, a team going to the playoff.
Montreal? Are they really?
Yes, they moved.
Did I miss that
position today?
Oh my gosh, they are!
Isn't that insane?
And the Islanders are right behind them.
I have no idea what the hell's going on.
I must have missed this.
I know.
The Eastern Conference, you can fit 70,000 teams in a 2-point blanket.
It's not fair. It's not fair how there's like 5 teams that really deserve to go to the playoffs, like east of North Dakota. And then in the West it's just, I don't know. It's crazy.
That's nuts.
Yes.
I do know, at least in the East, with Washington's win today, they clinched. They are the first team to clinch.
Alexander Ovechkin scoring
7 away.
Unbelievable.
7 away. It's going to be crazy. Anyway, so Montreal, I guess that might change my key to the game. Well, maybe not, because
demoralize them. Apparently that's
well, and here's the thing is, historically, we have just had some pretty bad luck over the seasons at Montreal.
They have been one
For
of our
one reason or another.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
They're always feisty every time.
Yeah. So it's and I'm going to kind of change my tune from what I've been preaching for the last couple of weeks. And I'm going to say that these out of conference games are going to really start to matter, especially in that you're 2 points, you're 2 points away from Dallas. You have, or excuse me, they have 3 games in hand, though. Keep that in mind.
Did you see, super quick, did you see that it sounds like Heiskanen might not even be back for the playoffs?
Ooh,
yeah, which that's a big
spicy
difference changer for Dallas.
Well,
So just saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But right now you are sitting 2 points behind them. So these 2 points is where you could just catch right up to them. Right.
And they lost, I think, 3 of their last 3 or 3 of their last 4 or something.
So they're currently in, did their shootouts just end?
Oh, they're playing tonight? I didn't know they were.
Yeah, they're playing tonight against Tampa. Let's see.
Apparently they're just an NHL cup contender now.
Yeah, which is like, go figure. Any John Cooper team
I know
has that. Yep. So it looks like they did they get, hang on, I can't, maybe I'm behind.
Yeah, they're
literally in the middle of shootouts right now.
And Lightning have outshot them 38-24. So Stars,
that's crazy,
winning on the back of their goaltending, it looks like.
Oh no, Kucherov got a goal, so they're tied at 2 goals apiece in the shootout. So I guess we see what happens there if Dallas gets a second point or not. But as it sits, so I guess technically speaking, 3, maybe 4 points. But these types of games, specifically talking about Montreal now, are going to be ones where you can't drop these anymore. I mean, any out of conference game, it's like a must win.
Before, you can't lose this. This is going to come back to bite you in the end. Now it's like, seriously, you cannot lose them.
And that's exactly right. You know, every game is going to, and I said this last week, every game is going to matter, and I'll still echo that.
It's going to keep mattering more.
It's going to just end up mattering more and more and more. And now it's these, these out of conference games, maybe some of the more important ones besides obviously your divisional stuff, because it's
gone Claves. Tampa's ahead.
Oh yeah?
Other one, yep.
Okay.
Ranting and saved by Vasilevsky.
Oops. I think, does that do it then?
That should end it. Yep. So
Tampa takes that one.
With the final shootout.
So
sorry.
No, you're good. So basically they're more 4-point swings. The only difference is you are relying on a different team to beat the one you're chasing, right? Yeah. For example, this Tampa one.
Out of your control, because we lost a lot of the ones that were in our control.
Exactly. Right. So there might need to be a little outside help with this one for sure. But you need to do your part.
Control it.
And Montreal is a team where you just, in the Bell Center, you just seem to not do so hot for some reason.
Big bad Newhook.
It's got to be him and Arbor Shakai, who just is now starting to piss me off more and more and more.
I know.
But everything is going to matter down into the last second, basically.
Yep. Every game we got like 14-ish games left. So
something around that. Yep. So that's again Saturday, 5 p.m. Mountain Time puck drop. You don't play again until Tuesday, and that one is going to be back at home, back at Ball Arena. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Mountain Time puck drop, and that's against the Detroit Red Wings.
So beatable.
Speaking of beat, I hope there is another fight that we can relive. That would actually be a lot of fun. However, Detroit right now is kind of spiraling. They kind of are just spiraling.
If they miss the playoffs, he has to be fired, right? Their GM whatever. What is he now? What's his face? I always want to call him
Yzerman.
Yeah, Yzerman. They have to fire him, right? There is
maybe
no one
I don't know.
Fire the Yzer plan.
It's been going for what, 6 years now? 5, 6,
65. Like, when did he leave Tampa? Which
something like that.
I gotta feel like the successful years of Tampa were residual positivity left by Yzer, but you just can't seem to make it happen. And I felt like I realized that it definitely wasn't going to happen when they paid JT Compher like $6 million for 5 years. I don't know, whatever that contract was. He's like in their top 6, like supposed to be the dude. And it's like, if you can't detect like what a Stanley Cup bump overpay you're giving, like in JT Confer, it feels like you're probably not leading this team down a good road. But yes, so they're spiraling.
But spiraling in the East means you're 4 points outside of the playoff spot. Yeah. So Columbus call it what it will. Exactly. Right. So they're not out of the woods or they're still in the woods, I guess, as it were, as a playoff contender. They need to start picking things up, and they can't drop any types of games. So they're going to give their best against you. Right. Similar to what I just said with Montreal, it's not a conference.
Rival vibes or something to make them feel
It'd be nice to reignite those, but
not for us.
Well, not right now, I guess. Yeah.
No, I mean, we don't have the same need for it, but like they need to find something to fight, something to, propel them. And we just need to beat them. We need, you know what I mean?
Yep. It's the same thing that I stated with the Montreal game. It goes for Detroit.
Yeah.
These out of conference games, they're going to be 2 points. You just need to go and grab.
Yeah.
And Avalanche know what they need to do. If they could play a similar game to tonight, excellent. I'd love that.
The better ease of schedule for the rest of the year. I mean, it really isn't too bad.
Yeah, and I think actually St. Louis has the easiest schedule, so that's that's something. But regardless, I think both these games are plenty winnable. Obviously, you on paper you have the better team. You just need to take what's on paper and actually put it out on the ice.
Yeah.
You know. So those are my keys to the game. Again, not too many. We're covering just the 2 there for the week.
For the love of God,
and that's kind of all she wrote. So I think that's going to run us to the end of the episode. Britt, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you, everyone, then, for joining us on this adventure, as it were, of the Cluster Puck podcast here on the MHRT Network. Again, if you like what you saw, we ask that you like and subscribe. Follow the MHRT Network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck podcast go live. You can do so on the various social media platforms of your choosing. And if you want to follow us, you may do so at the Cluster Puck podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. As the season is now starting to hit the home stretch, these games mean more and more. 4 points, a big 4 points on the line this week. Mm-hmm. So, Britt, what say we go and get them?
Hope so. We better.
I agree.
Opening next week.
There you go. Okay, well, awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you guys have an amazing weekend. And as always, go Avs, go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.